button. Okay. You're live.
Alrighty. Welcome back, everybody. We're just coming out of closed session, and we do have a motion that came out of conclusion of that closed session. I'm just going to have Karen read off the motion.
The BIA Board of Directors directed the coordinator, Justin St. Pierre, to offer positions on the BIA board to Nicole Hudson, Don Tateki McDougall, and Leslie Amber Bottagoni, subject to approval of council.
There we have it. We don't need to make that a motion again, do we?
No.
That's a whole lot of motion. So. Too much movement. So there we go, folks. Looking to get a few more board members, and that will be awesome. I don't think we've ever had 9 people.
It's awesome.
Been a while.
So excited.
Did we even have 9 when we started?
Yes,
Yeah, we did too, didn't we? Yeah.
we did. Yes.
Alrighty. So that ends that fun and exciting stuff for this evening. We'll move on to 7, financial report. Tracy?
Nothing new to report from last month. But I was thinking maybe what I should do is add a column for project budget so that we can keep track of our commitments when we actually haven't spent the money yet, but have committed to spending. If everybody likes that idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Love it. Love it.
Good idea.
Okay, so I'll try to get that ready for next meeting. But to date, we've spent $682 of our $29,000 budget.
All right. In case nobody knows, I know something went through for the brick. If you remember from last meeting, the brick program for the new arena. I sent the forms in. It got back to me that I guess accounting was able to steal our money somehow, some way. I don't know if any receipts or anything have come out from that yet, but just so you guys know, it did get paid for, and we'll be on the wall.
So Kevin, I just went ahead and authorized them to do a
you?
transfer.
Okay. She didn't say it was you. Jeez.
But Tracy, were you emailed on it? Okay, I'll direct them to send you confirmation of that. Sorry, you should have been included on that correspondence.
But there we go. All good. So we will move to 8, staff. Dana has stuff to say.
Oh, yes. So I guess just the farmers market that we wanted to kind of come back to that we started discussing earlier in the meeting. So we took a new bylaw to council last night, and they, some really great discussion ensued, and there was some thought about looking, adding more opportunities for, mobile food vendors, more of like a public market, maybe offering almost like a flea market, antique market kind of option as well, so that we could also bring in, vendors outside of that traditional farmers market that really have to be limited to locally grown or locally produced products. Justin and I had a lot of discussion about, is there a way that we can really, kind of get our businesses, our existing brick and mortar businesses more involved in the market, with an opportunity to maybe come down and participate at the market throughout the season. For example, we were thinking of Elver Boss, the new restaurant up in the industrial area of Prescott, that fantastic operation. He was actually a whole food wholesale business that was really servicing a lot of higher end restaurants in the Toronto region. And of course, his business completely fell out with the pandemic, and he managed to convert his business to a cafe and an actual consumer-based business. And he's looking at really turning it into more of a permanent restaurant, as well as retaining the wholesale business. So we thought, what a great opportunity for someone like that to come down to the market. And he's also selling a lot of prepackaged foods, everything from, preserved, olives and stuffed peppers from Italy to plant-based meats and a whole other range of products. A lot that are coming primarily from Spain. So they're all imported, which at a local farmer's market, a business like that wouldn't be able to participate. So there was a lot of support, it seemed, from council to be maybe thinking outside the box and looking at more of a public market where we could entertain some of those options, bring some of our local restaurants in, say Turkish restaurant, maybe wanted to come down and sell some of their wood-fired pizza for the day. Maybe Portolano would like to come down and set up a booth in the market and sell her products to gain a little bit more awareness for this fantastic factory outlet store that sells the most affordable cashmere you've ever seen in your life. And I don't think half of the people in our area even have a clue that it's sitting there right in our backyard. So, opportunities like that to really kind of showcase the local businesses that don't have those opportunities themselves. And there seems to be, like I say, a council appetite for it. So we wanted to just get a sense from the BIA. What are your thoughts on farmers market? Because the bylaw we took last night was more of a traditional farmers market, but now we're thinking, maybe it could be more of a public market, still retaining all those traditional elements, and you would still have a certain percentage. I believe 51% is the number that we have to maintain of those local producers and local produce vendors. But then we could also look at a whole other option for other vendors, and it might create a bit more of appeal to the community and visitors to come and spend time at the market and really benefit all of the vendors as a whole, versus trying to maintain and really stick to that traditional farmers market mandate and potentially making things, making it a struggle to get enough vendors to really fill out that space and make it the vibrant, attractive destination that it needs to be. And the concern is there's a lot of other markets happening in the region that are already attracting some of those traditional vendors. And we've got a lot of work to do on our end to bring those traditional vendors back. And a market is not a market with 2 or 3 vendors. It just isn't. And I think it's something that we've tried in the past. And maybe if we open it up to a whole new sector of vendors, then we can really turn it into a destination that also attracts more of those traditional vendors in the long run.
I love the idea. I
Yeah,
think it
wanted to
will
get your
bring a
thoughts.
lot more people down, and especially if the vendors change, like, so this week it's Portolanos, next week it's somebody else, like it draws people down to see who's down here this week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I completely agree. And especially we want us to be a destination. So particularly if we can get some of those food vendors down here, we can get the people who are coming down here on motorcycles. We can get the people who are coming down here from Ottawa in their cars, just going down for a drive. And we can have the ancillaries. We can have the other vendors, because they're going to come here, they're going to see the food that's just like ridiculously amazing. And they're going to see that we have other things as well. And then they're going to see what we have on the main street. So I completely agree. We need to open it up.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's where, we could even have Windmill. We're talking about bringing Windmill Brewery down.
Exactly.
There's so many options, right?
Yeah.
With the markets. And even if it is, say, a Beaver Tails, that comes down, like the amount of traffic that is going to draw to all of those other market vendors, it's
Agreed.
a win-win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Agreed.
Too,
Completely agree.
Yeah. We already have competition in terms of market from the spot at the beer store, and then there's another spot across from Riverside, and people go to those spots too instead of coming to the downtown spot.
Yeah. Good point.
And
That
council brought that up too, and it's something that we struggled with. You know, our plan is to approach those vendors to try and encourage them to at least consider coming down to the Prescott market on the market days. And, you know, you can't deny the fact that they are getting better traffic where they are because they are on that main artery, right? And they're also able to set up for a much longer period. They're there, some of them are 7 days a week, some of them are there for 12 hours. So sometimes the market hours don't necessarily align with the extent that these produce vendors really want to be out there. But if we could at least get them to consider coming down during market days and then go
Yeah.
back up to their regular, you know, stomping grounds the rest of the
Yeah.
week,
Agreed.
Yeah.
we could maybe
Agreed.
capture them that way. But then we were thinking, another member of council threw out the suggestion of what about an antique market? And I know Justin and Kevin have been collaborating, discussing, you know, what about the potential of, you know, cross promoting and working together? Because I know Kevin's thinking about building an antique market behind Forwarders this year. You know, could we kind of work together to build these out? And again, it's a whole other market to attract consumers, to have an antique and farmers market, possibly a flea market that we could operate, you know, a few times a year, either down at Riverwalk Park, up at the Leo Boyven. You know, the opportunities are really endless, but I think if we started with something that's a bit more of a public market, it really gives us a much better chance of making something that's vibrant and a real destination, as well as potentially using this market as a springboard for
Mhm.
businesses. You know, that's where businesses start. These are entrepreneurs that potentially start with a little market booth that may potentially graduate into the Prescott pop-ups idea that we're just kind of brainstorming. And then from there could potentially graduate into a brick and mortar business.
So we should purchase a space like the BIA for the $175 and let people take turns using our space.
Ooh.
Oh,
Ooh, that's
yeah,
a really good
that's
idea.
a great
That's a
idea.
good idea.
And the BIA could almost have a vetting, you know, like vendors, potential vendors could actually apply to the BIA
Mhm.
for that space, right?
And
Love
would you
that.
be would you be thinking of the idea that some of the BIA member stores could come down in that space?
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be great.
Really?
I've always wanted that idea of free rent somewhere. So free rent downtown on a beautiful day, why not?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Love it.
Should it be exclusive just to the BIA members?
It wouldn't even
Yes.
have, it wouldn't even necessarily have to be just one each time, right? Like it could be something where 2 or 3 businesses wanted to have some stuff down there during a market. They could, you know, they could apply and they could be down there. But the idea of a BIA booth that's bringing, sort of joining those two things together, I think is excellent.
And something we're also looking at doing as part of the Prescott pop-up. So we're considering maybe the lighthouse could be a potential first location for that, to actually look at a seasonal pop-up opportunity that could again be, you know, almost competition based, where you could have, say, 1 to 3 pop-ups within that lighthouse. And maybe that's something that the BIA would want to get involved in. And then long term, I really want the town, and I'm hoping to get council support for this down the road, to actually support the town leasing a downtown space and actually putting like having a business competition program as a way to really start, you know, as an incubator for a new business. But I think that what we're doing with the market and the pop-ups could all contribute to that broader business competition program that we're hoping to plan during the future.
Yeah, I think there's yeah, there's a lot of things going on there for sure, and it's funny, and I'll elaborate for a quick second. 'Cause I started laughing when I watched the council meeting when Councilor McConnell brought up my name. As of early last year, I was just thinking of an antique market or something along the antique vintage, to be quite honest, kind of elaborate a little more than just antiques. And of course, COVID just stopped me from being able to even think about it. And then the farmers market fell apart. And because I was talking to the original group that was there beginning of last year, and they were talking with me about helping out. And so this is kind of an idea I've had in the back of my head for a while. But the first thing was thought of is to run it in conjunction with the farmers market. I mean, it's just business wise for me. It's a no brainer for me. The funny part about council bringing it up, it was just kind of funny. But I've already been talking with a few people. I put a thing out through my Facebook page a few weeks ago already, looking for vendors before this was even discussed. So it's just kind of coincidental that we're talking about this now.
What kind of feedback did you get, Kevin?
Little slow, which I'm not necessarily surprised by. Sometimes Facebook posts can be a hit and miss thing. I will post again, but I'm also going through some other routes that I know, some people that may know some vendors that I can get in touch with. I don't know if you recall the name Natalie Laverne. She actually applied for the coordinator position back when we were looking. She runs the Red Hot and Blues Festival in Brockville. And she's into kind of the 50s vintage stuff. So I sent her a message asking if she can hook me up with any vendors. So I'm waiting to hear from her. I do have about 4 people right now, give or take. But it's going to be one of those things where looking for vendors, you might have to get to the point of advertising. And I do think this is kind of separate from that, but the big thing about the farmers market, or whatever we're going to call it, market, is going to be advertising. And I think that's where it fell apart originally. You didn't know it was there. You had a little teeny sign coming into Prescott that 9 times out of 10 it pointed the wrong way, and you just didn't know it was there. Like I don't know about you guys with Facebook, at least I see constant posts from Brockville, Augusta, and Kempville for their farmers markets, like constantly. And Prescott's was rare to see it. You might have seen a BIA post about it, or someone got a picture. But regardless of my involvement, I think the big thing is going to be advertising and promoting it, and I think that'll be the big thing. But I'm hoping to be able to help out, and that's where the music thing came in too, with George Tierney, and helping out with advertising for them for the Folk Fest. But I also know, again, Natalie, she knows a whole bunch of like 50s swing bands and stuff like that. So, I mean, I got connections in the music world because that's kind of what I do. But it's nice to see that there's some drive behind this. And I think town kind of getting a handle on it is great. I know BIA didn't really want to get involved too much originally. But I think we were silly to ignore it. So it's definitely something we should be involved in. And I think some of these ideas that the town has come up with is phenomenal. And Dana, I have to ask, I'm positive I saw Matthew the other day near Brockville looking at those little buildings by City Glass. I don't know if you know where I'm talking about.
130 North Augusta Road.
Right at the end of Sharp's Lane, almost.
Oh yeah, he brought me a brochure for this, so guaranteed that was him.
I'm positive it was him. I drove by, and if you guys haven't been by,
the Amish sheds.
Okay, different location.
Yeah.
And Kevin, just to let you know, I did post your little ad into my group at the Brockville Flea Market.
I noticed.
Antiques.
Cool, thank you.
But your comments about the promotion, I think that's really the critical piece that's been lacking before, Kevin, with not having the town really taking that active administration coordination role. It's really been a vendor-led market up until now. And as much as, you know, the vendors, I'm sure, were doing their utmost in trying to promote it, it's hard when you're also trying to run your own business, and and I'm sure a lot of these vendors also have full-time jobs too, in many cases. So now that we have Justin in place as the market clerk, so to speak, you know, having that individual that's really focused on building the market, recruiting the vendors, really putting some dollars and time behind the, you know, the marketing and promotions, as well as just the ongoing, you know, kind of oversight, which kind of leads me to the next piece of this. What we're recommending as part of this to really ensure that, you know, it becomes a community market, right? Something that really gets ownership, not only from the town, but from the vendors and the other kind of, you know, individuals or areas that are going to be benefiting from it. Is we're recommending the establishment of a farmers market task group, which would be composed of course, Justin, a couple of vendor representatives, and we're really hopeful that a member of the BIA board of management will consider coming on board. We think that connection with the BIA and the market is a critical piece, especially given the market's location right within the downtown core, and really feel that the market can be used as a really good springboard to help support the broader downtown business community.
Yeah, that's great, because I caught that in the meeting. Do you know, do you guys have a schedule on when you plan on putting this all together? Oh, wait a minute. I thought I caught something that they'll be putting something out next week or the week after.
Yeah, so promotions are gonna, I know Justin's actively working on getting some of the promotional materials in place. He's also doing a lot of direct vendor recruitment right now. And then once the bylaw goes before council for June 21st for final review and adoption. So once it's approved, then we're basically off to the races. And that's where you're really gonna see us ramp up. Because essentially we're kind of between a rock and a hard place right now, that we have to get the bylaw approved before we can really run with a lot of the final promotions and vendor recruitment.
Curiosity, what does Prescott consider local as far as vendors?
So it's not so much local vendor, like we're open to absolutely anyone at the actual market. You don't need to be located within Prescott. We haven't really set any sort of definitive boundaries as far as that's concerned. When it comes to the 51% vendors that need to kind of fit within that traditional market, it needs to be locally grown or produced.
Okay.
And Justin, is there an actual radius that's been established? I know a lot will generally use the within 50 to 100 kilometers kind of mandate, but I don't know if there's one that's been established formally.
The proposed bylaw didn't establish a firm boundary such as that. I know that other places, like for example, Kingston uses a preference to 100 kilometers.
Okay.
Okay.
And I think, you know, that's a wonderful problem to have if we ever get to the point where we have, you know what I mean? We're overrun with requests and actually having to turn vendors away. I think we would absolutely, you know, start taking some of those factors into consideration. But we could do that as part of the handbook that's being developed versus actually having to go back and amend the bylaw itself.
Justin, can you put me on that list for the crafters at the farmers market, please, under quality creations? We did it last year when we were up and running. Well, 2 years ago, actually.
Don't worry, you're already on my list.
Yes, thank you.
You better be.
We were just talking about that amongst our executives at quality about joining again.
That's
I have my own booth right
fantastic.
across
We're
the
building
street.
vendors already.
Yeah, I have my own booth right across the street, so it's kind of irrelevant for me for that side of it. But yeah, that's why I'm hoping to help with the other side of it. So but we'll definitely talk regardless from just my viewpoint on everything. But it'd be awesome to see something like that go for sure. Yeah.
So maybe
Anything
if you
else?
just want to consider it, we'd come back with a more formal request to the board at the next
Yeah.
meeting for the actual delegation of a task group member.
Yeah, for sure.
So I would really like to be involved with this just because that's what I do. I work with business bankers and entrepreneurs, and if I could be involved with this, that'd be amazing.
I'd second that.
Hey, we could.
And I already have some amazing ideas, and just in terms of what my business plan is for my business, I would love to introduce you to some of the people I know.
I don't have a problem with that if we want to jump right over that, and unless somebody else wants
Awesome.
to fight Melinda.
And no, I have no problem with Belinda taking that position either. That would
I
be
think
great.
it's great.
Okay.
Yep, that should be
so-
fantastic.
Should we just put that? This task force will be a go, though, right, Dana?
Well, it would be part of council's approval if that is built into the bylaw, but it would be great if we could make a recommendation as to the specific individual
Yeah,
and
sure.
really demonstrate that that interest from the BIA is there as part of our staff report to council.
And I can help out sometimes. My work schedule kind of interferes with some stuff, but I'm glad to help out when needed as a seconder.
Perfect. All right. Well, if somebody wants to make the motion, then
I'll make the motion that Belinda join the task force for the what are we going to call it, or what are you going to call it? The People's Market? Is that?
Yeah, the name to be, let's just call it the Prescott Farmers and Crafters Market for now.
Okay.
Stick to what it is for now.
Okay. Did you get all that,
Alrighty.
Karen?
What do we call the Prescott Crafters,
Farmers and
Farmers and
Crafters
Crafters
Market.
Market.
Farmers and Crafters, okay.
All righty. So, motion has been made by Pearl, and who would like to second that?
I'll second it.
Karen will second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Look at that. You even got somebody already, Dana. And it sounds like somehow, some way, I'm going to be involved. I don't know yet. I blame Councilor McConnell, but. You got anything more on that, Dana, or is that it?
That's it for me.
Perfect.
Justin, any burning?
Just one quick one. Just wanted to say the I believe stuff. Those were the 5 most popular posts that have been on the BIA Facebook page in
Oh,
the
okay.
past 6 months. There was a total of, I believe, 6,500 plus views and 1,400 engagements on the 5 of them.
Wow.
So
Damn.
they really ran off pretty good there. So we'll just have to do pearls at some point in the next little bit, and that will close out the board members. And as per the original plan, we'll seek out some of the other businesses and see if they want to take part in that as well. But it definitely, I know when Belinda and I were talking, we were talking about how it was a low effort, high impact thing, and
Exactly.
it definitely has had a very high impact.
Amazing.
Perfect.
Great.
That's awesome. All right. Well, good news all around, folks. This is
And
great.
just an FYI, we're planning on submitting these to the OBIA in the hopes that they may grab them in, some of their broader promotions. So you could go national. You never know.
Make it Prescott famous. All righty. Well, if that's all staff has to say, we'll move to 9, new business. I don't think there is any new. Oh,
Oh.
wait a minute.
Tracy.
Sorry, I just have one observation. When I was looking at the placement of the new benches, the only observation I had was perhaps it would be good if we put the bench in front of a spot that's open instead of a storefront that has nothing in it. Do you know what I mean? Like, or a
Mhm.
spot where, I don't know. It just,
So I
when you-
can speak to are you referring to the one in front of the bookstore, Tracy?
I honestly forget. I was walking
Okay.
downtown and I looked behind it and I thought, oh, wouldn't it be nice if behind the bench was an actual business that was open? And
So-
you know what I mean? Like with a clean storefront, the business open. I don't know. That was
We've
just a
got
thought.
about how we had a big discussion about this. It's very valid. There's a lot of vacant properties in the half block where we've done the first round of installation from Center to Edward, but more focused on the west end of that block. But so when we talked about the placement, the benches have been placed in front of properties that are actually undergoing or about to undergo renovations and are going to have new commercial tenants in them within the next 6 months is the anticipation. So as much as, yes, some of them are vacant now, we're anticipating that is going to change in the very near future. So hopefully that alleviates some of those concerns, but we do, there is an area there that there's a lot of properties that are undergoing renovation, and as a result, a lot of vacancies right now. So I completely understand, from public perception, I would question the same thing, but please know that yes, within the next few months, there will be businesses in those locations.
The benches are so beautiful and that, you know what I mean? And then
I know, it's why would you put them? Yeah. But if
Is
there are
someone going
suggestions,
in
I'm
by the
sure we
bookstore?
could temporarily relocate if there's a real, appetite for that. As much as I don't, we've also got to be mindful of operations and their capacity.
Is someone going in the bookstore? Like you have a bench there now?
Yes.
And
And
someone going-
it's being renovated. Both the
It
storefronts
is.
are being renovated. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And are they going to take 6 months though, or are they going to be a little?
No, I think probably in the
Quicker than
next
that.
couple of months, they're going to be open.
Okay, then that's
Uh-huh.
reasonable. Yeah.
Great news. Yeah.
And then we've got one in front of the Springer property, which is soon to be home to H&R Block and is undergoing significant renovations. And we would anticipate probably welcoming some new commercial tenants there over the next few months too.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, Tracy just reminded me of a question. What's going on with the planters, Dana?
So they had to get the plant out of the greenhouse and into the planters. They are a work in progress. They are not complete. And so as you'll see, they've got the existing benches are still remaining. So they've got to put the new benches in first, and then they'll take the old benches out and do those planter conversions as they make that move.
Yeah, I never even thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a bit of everything has to follow a certain process, and for them to do the planters, the old benches have to come out first, which means you.
So I saw them there today, the new ones, the 4 of them in the one spot, and I was looking at them like, where's the bench? They seem so small, and I'm more worried that they're going to get peed on than anything. But well, they're low enough that a dog can honestly go to the bathroom. That's my only concern.
They're gonna get some extra fertilizer over the next few weeks until we get them raised up on their bench mounts. But yes, that is coming.
It looks great. It's just it'll be cool to see them lifted up higher. Is that where they're actually going to go? Where they're sitting right now?
So they're still looking, coming up with a permanent plan for those. The real priority is just getting them out of the greenhouse and into an area that is getting some really good sun and rain when we do get the precipitation. So it's really just to help foster the preliminary growth of those plants. And then once they get them attached to the bench portion, they'll decide on the permanent locations from there.
Right. And the rest of the benches will be when?
Over the next few weeks.
I keep hearing over the next few weeks. Because we're coming in, we're in mid-June already. I kind of thought they'd be out already, but yeah.
They are working very hard. We've got a lot of town projects on the go, a lot of things happening in the background too that the public doesn't always necessarily
Yeah.
see. So
Well, I saw them out doing the flowers and stuff, and they're doing a good job making those look good. So, and their hanging baskets are looking good. I don't know if anybody's noticed over the past week, they just kind of went crazy.
I keep watching them, yes.
Yeah, they're growing pretty good all of a sudden. So, yeah,
That's good.
awesome. Well, if that's all for that,
oh,
I got nothing else to say. If anybody else got anything now, speak or forever hold your peace. If
Maybe.
not, we can make an motion to adjourn. Who cares to make the motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Sweet. Motion made by Belinda, second by, looks like Pearl.
Yep.
Perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Motion is carried. Great meeting, guys. Getting lots done. Awesome.
Mhm.
We'll
Okay.
see you again in July. I don't remember when the date is.
Okay. Ciao, ciao.
have a good night, everyone.
Have a good